Okay, cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Welcome, everyone. I'm Caterina, and I've spent years as a brain injury specialist and case manager, working alongside survivors to help them reach the best versions of themselves. Today, we're going to explore how technology can lighten your cognitive load with tools that you can use every day to make life work better. Justin had said, sometimes tech can be a little bit overwhelming. So the purpose of this training is to not make you feel overwhelmed or inundated. It is going to feel rather list-like, as I am going to be rapidly going through some different apps that you can be using within a short amount of time. So I do apologize in advance, but there's so many good things out there that can support you. So while I go ahead, I'm going to share my screen. Just bear with me. Okay. I'm so very sorry. My screen froze. Just bear with me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So when I served as a brain injury case manager, let me go ahead and there we go. A survivor had once said to me, my brain used to hum along perfectly. I never needed to worry about anything. Everything felt like it worked effortlessly. I never thought about my thought process. But now it's like I can hear every gear turning, and that's exactly it. So now, you're consciously managing what used to be automatic, and that takes a tremendous amount of energy. Your brain has rhythms throughout the day, and these patterns often become more pronounced after brain injury. Maybe you've noticed that mornings feel kind of like you're wading through fog, or you might feel like you're, stepping through molasses in the morning, and then suddenly around 10 a.m., things seem to kind of click in place. Or perhaps your clearest thinking happens in the evening when the world kind of quiets down. You're not getting alerts anymore. Your circadian rhythm is kind of just winding down. Um, but some days the pattern shifts entirely, and it's not random. It's your brain slowing down and it's trying to work through all of the resources available. So the purpose is to work through these patterns and not against them. Like I mentioned, for myself, I might feel most energized at 6 to 9, but maybe for you, you feel energized during the afternoon. So you really want to stay in tune with your body to help protect your hours of when you feel the most energetic. And something that you can use that you already have, and I'm sure a majority of you have a phone next to you within reach, is a blocker. And I would also like to caveat that throughout this training, I'm going to be referencing the iPhone and the Android just because I know that those are the two most common. But I do recognize that perhaps that is not the phone that you have or the system that you have. So please take, these references with a grain of salt, and I'm always happy to help you navigate different apps that maybe you may not have if you have a specific type of system. So you would like to kind of create those boundaries around your precious clear thinking time. So people who text will see that you're in focused work. And then during those foggy hour times, you can remove decisions entirely. So a simple reminder, you can press your Siri button and say, at 2 p.m., I need to take a rest. Schedule a reminder for 20 minutes. And that way, the decision is already made when your brain is too tired to make good choices. And there's something else that helps almost everyone, and it's already in your phone, live captions. So you can find this throughout your accessibility settings. You can put words on screen for easy conversation, video, and call. And that way you're not relying on just your ears anymore. Your eyes are there to back them up. It's kind of like having subtitles for real life, making it much easier to understand and remember. Conversely, again, this is not a one-size-fits-all. You may find that captions are overstimulating and you prefer audio. I'm in that boat, so I don't know about you, but I cannot do captions and listen and pay attention at the same time, so do what works best for you and your brain. So I kind of wanted to create this as an overview arching how we spend our day. So, we kind of just review different supports that you can do in the morning. And then for memory supports, your memory changes are often the most frustrating part about a brain injury. The information is there somewhere, but the path to find it has changed. So instead of struggling alone, you should try to use these different tools to kind of create this cognitive support around your day. So I want you to think about how naturally you already use your phone's camera for things. So now we're going to be a little bit more strategic about it. When you park somewhere, snap a photo. But the key is to include something distinctive in the frame with your car. The red exit sign, that unusual tree, the mural on the wall. Your brain loves to connect visual anchors better than abstract locations like level 2 row B. I'm guilty of the level 2 row B at an airport, and you better believe I cannot find that level 2 row B. So definitely, again, work with what is best for your brain. If you remember something, easier with a picture or that distinctive reminder, do what works best for you. Voice memos also become your thought catcher. And again, this can be easily accessible through Siri, or if you have Android, Google pressing that side button. That feeling kind of like when something pops into your head. And then by the time that you try to find paper or you think, oh man, like I'll just remember this later, it's gone. So, now you can just take that with your phone, take that fragment of an idea during the conversation, that thing that you need to tell that doctor, that random important thought, capture it immediately. Don't worry about completing sentences or finding the right words or, trying to make it formal. You can, again, not sure if you were in my earlier classes, but you can say, oh, that round avocado, something for tacos, just to kind of jog the memory. So, certainly use the tools available that's already within your phone before diving into the deeper apps. For medications, though, there's a very helpful app and it's called MediSafe, which is free. And it definitely solves the did I take this already anxiety completely. So for myself, I take a multivitamin in the morning, and sometimes I forget if I had taken the multivitamin. And one time I wound up with orange feet from too much of a vitamin. So, conversely, there are definitely more serious medications that you do not want to be taking a double dose of. So every reminder shows you that exact photo. No more standing at your pill organizer trying to remember, if you already took the round one or the white one. You can even add someone as your backup, so they'll be notified if you miss doses repeatedly. And that kind of gives you, twofold. So one, it helps you understand if you took your medication, but also it gives your loved one that peace of mind that they don't have to hound you about it. And it also gives you that sense of agency and independence. So here's something that you may have experienced, and no one really talks about it. And it's that kind of complete freeze of when you're trying to start something, you know exactly what needs to be done. You want to do it. You have kind of the motivation to do it, but your brain just won't begin. So it's kind of like your starter motor is broken. The PEAT app, or the PEAT app, helps with this perfectly. So it doesn't treat you like you don't know how to clean a kitchen. It knows you know, you know, you know. It breaks clean kitchen into specific manageable actions, and it makes something that feels overwhelming a little bit more manageable. So clear the counter, rinse the dishes, load the dishwasher, wipe surfaces, sweep the floor, or whatever else your, routine is to clean your kitchen. And that way each one is concrete enough so that your brain can grab onto it and begin. And typically, again, this is very subjective, but once you kind of start, that momentum carries you forward. So sometimes, your perception of time can change too. You might have a little bit of time slippage, and that's everyone. I'm not saying that that's specific to brain injury, but it may be more pronounced now. So, hours may vanish, or minutes may feel like they drag on endlessly, or, your experience with time may feel very different. So one app that's really helpful with that is the Time Timer app. and it translates time into something visual. And I know you're thinking, well, Caterina, a clock is clearly visual, but it's easier for the brain to manage. It's a red disc that begins to shrink. Your brain sees this differently from numbers on a clock. So when you set 20 minutes for email, you're not calculating the remaining time or checking the clock repeatedly or increasing your cortisol because you're like, holy moly, I've got 5 minutes left. It's just healthier for the brain to kind of see that disc come to a close. So you just watch the red shrink, and when it's gone, you're done. It's remarkably freeing. I've used it before for work, and I get a lot done. For daily routines, both iPhone and Android can automate sequences, creating a leaving home shortcut that lets you check the weather, share your location, start navigation, and send your ETA with just one tap. And again, this automation can be done in one fell swoop. So you're not trying to remember 4 things while also finding your keys and wondering if you lock the door. Just one tap of automating that you're leaving will free up that mental juggling. Okay, so this, like I said, this is going to feel very overwhelming as I'm reviewing these apps. It's going to feel very list-like, but there's a lot of good information here. So you can always reference this back, or I'm always happy to walk you through a specific app if there's anything of interest that you'd really like to dive deeper into. Communication is so much more than words. You're processing what someone said, you're formulating a response, you're reading their facial expressions, you're trying to remember the context, all while the conversation keeps moving. When any part of this becomes more challenging, your entire system feels overwhelmed and struggled, and you just may shut down completely. It's a great app for this. And I did see when I came in that someone was using an AI note taker, and I love to see that. So kudos to you for using something like that already within a meeting setting. That way you can go back and reference all of the things that was said. So a great app for this is Otter AI, and it's especially for important conversations like doctor appointments. There's a free version. It gives you 600 minutes monthly. But outside of Otter AI, if you did not want to integrate in another app, you do have your voice memo. I do know that sometimes it's a little finicky to work with, but Otter AI actually gives kind of like a dialogue of who said what, and it's very descriptive. So I do recommend that you check that out, perhaps at your next doctor appointment. And you can also, ask follow-up questions. You can express concerns. You can be yourself rather than a human recorder. And then during the conversation, you can tap to highlight the most important moments, making them easier to find later when you have more energy to process the information from the visit. Sometimes real-time conversation feels impossible, and the pressure of immediate response may feel a little bit like it's too much. So another great app that I have listed here in the asynchronous apps is Marco Polo. And Marco Polo and Voxer remove the pressure of having to have that immediate response. Maybe you're just not feeling up to it. You're not feeling social. You're not feeling at your best self. Maybe your energy is really low, or just maybe you don't feel like peopling at that time, which is completely understandable. So when you're feeling like your energy is up and you want to reach out to a friend or you want to reach out to a loved one, you can feel free to send that message. You can respond when it feels right for you and your body and your mind. And then Voxer is similar for voice messages. It's kind of like a walkie-talkie where messages can be replayed. And that replay feature matters because sometimes understanding comes on the third listen, and that's okay. So you can replay as many times as you'd like. And then when reading becomes exhausting, Speechify transforms speech into text. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, and you can find the voice that your brain processes most easily. So you can save articles to listen to during your clear times rather than struggling through them when visual processing is too much. That's why I love Audible to listen to my books. I find that my brain does not work well with reading. I don't have the patience, or I don't know. There's just something about reading to where my brain just it won't allow me to do it, but I do love listening to books. So Speechify kind of creates, if you want to read that article, it's not specific to a book. So I highly recommend Speechify as well. So we're going to review some emotional regulation and coping tools. And I want you to think about your emotions and cognitions as dance partners. When one stumbles, both stumble. When one finds rhythm, both find rhythm. So it's not about being emotional, it's about knowing how your nervous system works. When panic hits, you need immediate tools. And sometimes if you're well-versed in therapy, you're really great at grounding exercises, but sometimes you might need that little extra nudge or that external device to kind of help you through it. Rooted has what they call a red button, the app Rooted. One tap gives you grounding exercises that work, but when even more helpful is that it explains what's happening to your body. So if you happen to have headphones in, it kind of walks you through the process of what's going on. So understanding that it's your nervous system's alarm, not danger, might make it less frightening, in addition to doing those grounding exercises. And you can build calm throughout your day proactively. You can set your phone to automatically shift into quiet mode during your tough times, like that 2 p.m. crash. Your screen will dim, notifications will stop. Maybe you open up a breathing app. You're not making decisions when decision making is hard. You're following a plan that you created when your thinking was clear for when the day is tough. And sometimes the best technology isn't digital at all. And one thing that I recommend, and I know that I certainly need it when I go in Costco, is my headphones. But loop earplugs reduces environmental noise by about 20 decibels. So it still allows you to have the conversations, but it softens the voices. It softens the overwhelm. The overwhelming edge of the sound is gone, but the connection remains. And these are all really great external physical regulation tools. Weighted lap pads for calming. They make these really great if you're in an office setting, like a weighted cat that they sell on Amazon that I've had my eye on for some time. White noise machines for sleep and focus for myself. I use SleepStream at night. And I previously lived in the Pacific Northwest and I miss the rain. So I listen to the rain at night and I fall asleep like a baby. Light therapy boxes for circadian rhythm is great too to check out. And then another one that I don't have listed on here is the Forest app. And the Forest app makes focus and rest tangible in a really interesting way. If you like a gamified app, then this is one for you. And if not, if it's a little gimmicky, then, forego it and do what works best for you. But with the Forest app, you plant a virtual tree when you start working on resting, and it kind of forces you to rest. If you feel anxious, if you feel like a busy person, or if you feel a little guilty for resting, which I know is the case for some people, this is really helpful. So if you pick up your phone unnecessarily, the tree dies. And then over time, you grow a forest that represents your successful boundary keeping of protecting your space and your quiet time and your energy. But it sounds simple, but seeing that forest grow is surprisingly motivating. All right, so energy management into the dips. Again, we kind of reviewed this, everything is built into your phone. I would recommend just listening to your body. The Insight Timer is great for those 20-minute guided rest. And like I mentioned, the Forest app, but just really taking that time and not trying to push through it. If you're trying to push through your energy, you're not going to be very productive. Conversations may not be as rich as they could have been. And then maybe your memory not be the best. So do take that time, give yourself grace, and save important conversations or important tasks for when your cognitive functioning is a little bit higher. So navigation and daily living. I'm not going to make any assumptions here that we all know about Apple Maps or Google Maps. I myself used to use the maps that we used to download, and I would have to print off directions. So I'm not sure if everyone is up to speed with built-in navigation, but Apple Maps and Google Maps are pretty great. You can save your parking, you can share your ETA, and even just getting outside of the house sometimes requires orchestrating so many cognitive functions at once. You have to plan the route, you have to remember the list, navigating, handling unexpected interactions, traffic, people. It's exhausting before you even leave the house. So you want to try to distribute the cognitive load. Before leaving, download your route offline into your map apps. That way you don't have to worry about any signal anxiety, of course, depending on where you're at, if signal is an issue. Share your location automatically with someone that you trust if that feels right to you. When you park, like we mentioned, immediately photograph your car with something memorable in the frame, that distinctive storefront, the colorful mural. Your visual memory is often stronger trying to remember abstract locations. Another great one is Google Lens. And Google Lens is a game changer for overwhelming environments because you can point your phone at any sign, label, or product, and it'll instantly tell you what you're looking at, which is pretty cool. Say, you're short on, I don't know, your vision, you forgot your glasses, or maybe you're trying to look at your medication bottle, but you're unable to read it or understand it. So that certainly comes in handy. And then for shopping, AnyList is a great app. It lets your family members add items in real time, organized by the store layout, which again reduces the stress of walking into a store. And another idea, I know a lot of stores where I'm living here in South Carolina, they provide free pickup. So that is something that you can also do, whether it's Target. I don't know if Safeway has that option where you're at. I know Target does, Publix, Walmart. And that way, one, you stay on budget, and two, you're reducing that load. And maybe it's avoiding, the anxiety of going into a store and having to think about all the things that you need. So that's also an option too. And then specific to your location, I did see that Transit Go app might work at integration. And then you have an app specific to Washington State ferries for real-time schedules. So that's also very helpful and handy if you're on the go. And in regards to work and productivity support, there is a lot. This is where everything kind of converges. So all of your cognitive challenges meet external expectations and time pressure, but small adaptations can make enormous differences. So using voice dictation, and this one is overlooked, and I use it all the time in my phone. So whether that's text message, with my keyboard, I have a specific keyboard that has a microphone to where I can just type or talk into my microphone and it'll pop up on my Word doc, which is very helpful for ideating and also not taking the time because I get really frustrated having to type a lot of words. I'm disclosing that my brain is very lazy. So I do use the microphone often for dictation. You can also create shortcuts in your phone. So say for instance, you want to say thank you very much. You could just put TY or hey, I'm home safe, or I'll give you a call later. You could just put LTR as a trigger for a shortcut for your keystrokes to save that energy. And then in regards to work, the Pomodoro technique is really great and it's accessible through apps like Focus Keeper. And it's not about working less, it's about working substantially. So what it does is you're taking the 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute recovery. And that way your brain needs those breaks to restore glucose and oxygen levels. So like I mentioned before, pushing through isn't dedication. It's not something that you want to do. You're just depleting it and it's affecting everything else. So like I mentioned for meetings, Otter AI is great. So do check that out. Physical workspaces matter too. So having a standing desk lets you change positions when sitting, when everyone knows, sitting is so bad for you. But of course, if you don't have the capacity to stand for a long period of time, then that's okay too. Just do what you can. Noise canceling headphones are not antisocial. They're protecting your cognitive resources and your energy. Good ones have conversation mode, so tap them to let the sound in when someone approaches. And then, of course, here's some different music apps that you can explore for concentration. I love Hans Zimmer. I feel like I can conquer the world and create anything listening to Hans Zimmer on Spotify. So do, again, what works for you and your body and your mind in a physical workspace. And also remember, workplace accommodations are your legal right. Here at the bottom, I have the Job Accommodation Network, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation in Washington, and Americans with Disabilities Act, just so you're understanding your workplace rights and your accommodations. The Job Accommodation Network provides free guidance, and Washington's DVR can provide funding for assistive technology. So there's some helpful resources. I was pleasantly surprised with Washington's resources. You guys have a lot of support in your area, remarkable support systems, and perhaps many people don't know that they exist. So like I just mentioned previously, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation isn't just for people who can't work. It's for anyone whose work is affected by brain injury. So there's no income limits for evaluation. They fund technology, they provide job coaching, and they work with employers. And then Washington Talking Books in local libraries provides not just audiobooks, but magazines, newspapers, local resources guides. They're all free, all accessible, and they recognize that information access is a fundamental right and not a luxury. I was very impressed with the Washington Assistive Technology Program. The special equipment can be expensive. And how do you know if something helps without trying it in your real life? And I think that they have solved this issue brilliantly. You can call and explain your challenge. For instance, reading gives me a headache now, and I can't remember to take my medications, or like me, writing is exhausting. They translate these challenges into equipment options, and they loan them to you for 2 to 3 weeks to try out. You can use the C-Pen reader in your actual mail, under your actual lighting, and with your actual, vision changes, so you can see if it's something of interest to you. You can try a live scribe pen in real meetings and see if you actually remember to charge it, or whether the playback feature is helpful, or if you feel like it adds another step. And then down here, you can see popular loans include iPads with communication apps already installed, scanning pens that read text out loud, smart pens that record while you write, and then simple digital recorders for those who find apps overwhelming. And of course, if something doesn't work, you return it, try something else, no cost, no pressure. But I thought that that was a wonderful resource that they have in your locality. So I saved this one for the last because AI, I feel, kind of does everything that I just explained all in one. I'm not sure if you guys have kept up with current trends or the news, but artificial intelligence seems to do it all, and it seems to do more every day that I'm looking at the news. But there are some free tools like ChatGPT and Claude or Anthropic. And they're remarkable for cognitive support. But the key is knowing how to ask. It's kind of like a Harry Potter spell. That's how I explain it. Your output is only as good as your input. So some different things that you can ask include, explain this insurance letter like I'm having a really foggy day. You could take a picture. You can use the dictation that I said. Sometimes I can use the dictation and say, hey, make this neat paragraph form, use headers, and it will create a whole document for me in 2 seconds. So it's pretty remarkable if you have the time to check it out. But just for day-to-day different tasks, you can say, I have tortillas, ground turkey, bell peppers in my fridge. What can I make with this? And it'll come up with a million different things that you can make for dinner. Budget friendly, you don't have to leave your home. It'll create a whole recipe for you. You can say, break this recipe into 5 steps, super easy, and it can go ahead and do it. You can say, write me an email, asking for flexibility without oversharing. It'll maintain your privacy while getting your needs met. And another thing I know that I shared, the AnyList app, but for specific to shopping, you can say, I need ginger, lentils, bell peppers, cilantro, organize this by aisle in Safeway. So that way you can get in, get out, get what you need, and it takes little cognitive support. You can ask the same question 5 different ways until something clicks, and there's no impatience, or I already told you that, and there's no social cost to repetition. You can ideate with ChatGPT. You can come up with different questions to ask at your doctor's appointment about any symptoms that you're having. ChatGPT is not a medical provider, so please do not treat it as such, but you can use it as kind of a catalyst to elevate your questions or to help you remember. You don't have to write it down. You can keep it in the app. You can pull it up at your doctor's office and you can say, well, these are the questions that I had. And then again, you can use like Otter AI to record or your voice memo to record to remember and come back to. So don't think about AI as cheating or kind of taking the easy way out. It's more like using glasses. And, we're not cheating using glasses. It's a tool that extends your capabilities. Siri and Google Assistant are already in your devices, ready to help even with simple things like setting reminders and finding information. And here I've created a quick reference guide. It's quite the tongue twister. So here you can see, when you're needing solutions fast, here's your progression path. Start simple, add complexity only if needed. For forgotten appointments, start by using your phone's built-in reminders. If that's not enough, try Google Keep or any.do for more features. If you're, again, feeling like this is just too much, I'm a pen and paper kind of gal, use a physical whiteboard. Take what serves you. That might be your answer. Sometimes low tech is the right tech. If you're having a hard time starting tasks, phone automation for routines, then the PEAT app for task breakdown. Habitica, if gamification helps. Again, that's kind of like the forest growing with the tree, and it's kind of fun to check in on. So if that helps, again, do what works best for you. Or maybe you need a person who knows your activation phrase. And for me, it's Caterina, get it together. So this is something that I tell myself all the time, Caterina, get it together. And it's kind of like my own internal trigger of, okay, I need to get up and I need to do what I need to do. Doctor visits, if they're feeling overwhelming, voice memos, Otter AI, or print your cards with questions, or again, have your ChatGPT pulled up to ask those questions. And then of course, built-in focus modes, city mapper, transit apps. So these are all really great resources that I may not have mentioned previously. So as a reminder, technology should make your life easier and not harder. If a tool adds stress, it's the wrong tool for your brain, and that's okay. Your brain is unique and your solution should be too. So start with just one thing, just one. Try AI, try ChatGPT, see if that works for you. If you're like, whoa, this is too much, it's not for me. Don't use it, that's okay. Whatever problem frustrates you most during the day, start there. Task initiation, start there. Taking time for yourself, go quiet mode during 2 p.m. Just use the tool for 2 weeks before adding anything else. Your brain needs time to build new habits to make the unfamiliar familiar. Every photo you take instead of trying to remember, every voice note you record instead of struggling to write, every routine that you automate, these are choices that preserve your energy for what really matters for you. So do what works best for you and your brain. You're going to hear me say that all day long. If all of this feels overwhelming and too much, that's okay. You have your own systems, and stick to the system that works best for you and your brain. And that is all I have for you today.